Seth Rollins has had quite the week on social media. Whether you want to agree with Seth Rollins or not, I'm here to break down everything that I see as far as Seth Rollins goes. You know, the funny thing is, he actually tweeted somebody with this response, and I quote, "Nah, dog, let me dial it up. I've sat back and watched idiots with no clue talk poorly about the place I dedicate my life to every hour of every week. The level I perform at on a constant is untouchable. Time to let them know." End quote. If you are untouchable, why do you have to go to social media to spread garbage like this instead of doing it in the ring? And by the way, I am not an idiot with no clue, as you guys will see here. I am a very well-spoken fan of the WWE product who knows the product is fucking garbage. Right now, anyway. Hopefully, it'll be fixed in time. Seth Rollins is the Universal Champion. WWE has given him that, what they feel is the most important title in all of World Wrestling Entertainment. He is their leader. He is their man. He is the flag bearer for WWE. If WWE was leading an army into battle, the general of this army would be Seth Rollins. Am I surprised by his comments this week? I'm not surprised one bit. He's now the company man who will be put in the spotlight on the red carpets, on talk shows, proud of the position he has been given. He is a team leader who felt that he was being disrespected by other promoters, by other wrestlers, by other companies, aka one of these people in question is Will Ospreay. It is in anyone's human nature, especially Rollins, to stick up for themselves and their team. I do agree with Will Ospreay to a point that Raw sucks because of Baron Corbin being in the position that he is in. It's much more than that. But Ospreay's comments are the majority of the wrestling population, and they actually agree with Will Ospreay's comments. Why would anyone expect him to talk bad about WWE in any capacity? With a locker room and reports of the majority of the active wrestlers disgruntled, counting down the clocks until their current WWE contracts are up so that they could seek other opportunities, with reports of Sasha Banks, a leader in not only the women's movement, but the women's locker room, a woman who pretty much should be thanked for putting the emphasis on what the women really need. Sasha Banks is sitting at home, not caring about anything regarding the company because of a multitude of reasons. And with All Elite Wrestling 6 weeks away from what will probably be the biggest wrestling show of 2019, the timing of this particular version of Seth Rollins is not surprising whatsoever. In fact, in a landscape of pro wrestling where more people are anti-WWE than ever before, honestly, this Seth Rollins was needed not because we need it, but because the WWE needs it. This was a clear directive of Vince McMahon. The Rollins that you read in this article on Sports Illustrated was Vince McMahon. This is why I deemed, not to a complete aspect of what I'm about to say, but this is why I deemed Seth Rollins a sellout. Not all the way, not 100%, but partially a sellout. Now, if you guys have not been in the loop for one reason or another, it could just be that you're burnt out with WWE television and how terrible it's been for mostly all of 2019. It could be a simple fact that you're out enjoying the summer and you don't want to be stuck in the house reading the dirt sheets, keeping up on pro wrestling while you could be out at the beach, toes in the sand, and a nice ice-cold Corona with a lime. Man, that sounds good. I wish that could be me, but that's why you have me doing what I'm doing here for you. Rollins has taken shots at the critics of WWE. I am guilty, Mr. Rollins, but rightfully so. Rollins has taken shots at the critics of WWE, people who really want to see the product thrive in a way that we know it can. Yes, with the talent that they have on these rosters, I know they could put on great television. They just refuse to. I know the product could thrive. I've taken shots at WWE. And Seth Rollins has taken shots of his own at Jon Moxley for his recent comments on Talk is Jericho after debuting for All Elite Wrestling at Double or Nothing in Las Vegas last month, and has defended Vince McMahon and his creative. Who really in WWE is going to defend Vince McMahon and his creative? Someone who has his balls tied up and squeezed by said Vince McMahon. Has anyone else come out and defended Vince McMahon's creative after Jon Moxley went on Talk is Jericho? The answer is no. In fact, the one thing that you heard is how many people agreed with Jon Moxley. But Seth Rollins can't do that, folks. I'm not an idiot. Seth Rollins has to be a team player. I respect him for being loyal, because loyalty is a very difficult thing to come by. Very difficult thing to find in somebody. He's doing what he feels is best for his team. But at the same time, I also know that whatever was said in this interview by Sports Illustrated was directly from Vince McMahon. Seth Rollins was recently interviewed by, like I said, Sports Illustrated, and this is the context of his conversation. I quote, "Ambrose can do what he wants. He's a big boy. He's got his big boy pants on. He can go out there and say whatever he wants, but the bottom line is not everybody's equipped to handle the rigors of WWE and the schedule and how it affects you mentally and emotionally. And Ambrose gave everything he had to the company for the entire time he was here. He put his heart and soul into the travel, into the schedule, into the injuries, into the work in the ring, and all that stuff." Well, I don't know about all that towards the tail end of his last run, the last year or two. I don't know how true that statement is. He put his all into the in-ring work. Man, he was the most boring fucking wrestler on the entire roster. But that's neither here or there. But at the end of the day, says Rollins, he took his ball and went home. Or he went somewhere else at least. AEW. And I think it's a little presumptuous of him to get on a podcast and talk down about the company that gave him such an opportunity. End quote. Jon Moxley went on a podcast after making the biggest splash in pro wrestling for 2019. Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, more so than anyone in that company, should have sensed what was wrong with Moxley and came to the realization on their own that the man was not happy with what he was doing. His passion for his love was dying. Yes, he put his heart and his soul into everything he did. He went out there and went about the entire process while WWE, was giving him this shit. And he tried and tried and tried. He went through the entire process while in WWE. And he went about everything and did everything better than anyone I could ever remember. He pitched ideas. He was vocal. If he didn't like something and had a better idea, he would ask why and go directly to Vince, only to be shot down. He was shot down and went out there and did it anyway. While Jonathan Good, the man behind the Dean Ambrose character, was dying on the inside, knowing he did something that completely sucked and that he completely hated, just to do what any good employee who respects their company in that moment would do. And more importantly, he did it because the fans believed in Dean Ambrose. He tried. To say he took his ball and went somewhere else, in my eyes, is very disrespectful. It sounds like, to me, Seth Rollins wanted Dean Ambrose to be unhappy and stay miserable. This is nothing new. This is the typical WWE mentality. You are all good when you are there, when you are one of them, and then you're labeled an outcast and deemed unsuccessful if you go anywhere else. Jon Moxley talked about the WWE in a creative standpoint only. He only talked about what he felt was the biggest issue and what was killing the company. Creative. Before he even went on about what we all know is wrong with the company, he openly praised, without the WWE, his opportunity to even be sitting across from Jericho the day the podcast was being recorded wouldn't even be a thing. And the fact that he met his wife, and gave his family a life where they could live comfortably, certainly wouldn't have happened without the WWE. So that portion of the podcast, that's how I feel breaking down Rollins' comments. Moving on. Rollins says this, I quote, and like I said, I love the guy, talking about Moxley. I love the guy. I love him. I will always love him. But at the end of the day, we just share different perspectives about what we want out of life and about where we are right now in our own lives. End quote. He was nearing the end of his contract, knew what the company was doing, and knew it was absolute dog shit, especially with his character. He knew if he stayed, nothing will change, and he will continue to live a miserable existence if he did. So what did he really want, Seth? He wanted happiness. He wanted creative freedom. He didn't want to work the road 300 days a year anymore. He wants to make sure his body isn't completely broken down into shit when he's 50, 60 years old. He doesn't want to be confined to a fucking wheelchair. He wanted to test his skill against wrestlers who you yourself would love to test yourself against. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Rollins, but when Kenny Omega was a free agent before this last time, before he signed with AEW, and the news was making the rounds that, a possible appearance of Kenny Omega could happen in the Royal Rumble. Who was the first one who wanted Kenny Omega in the WWE? Who was the first one to label Kenny Omega as a talent that they wanted to test themselves against? It was you, wasn't it? Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, is doing that very same thing now. What do you really want out of life? What is your life perspective? You won the Royal Rumble. You won the Universal title at WrestleMania. You are the face of the company on their flagship show every week. Why would you ever say to your best friend that he has different life perspectives when all he wants is the same thing that you have, knowing it is impossible to achieve what he wants where he used to be? Loyalty to a company only goes so far. It starts out as an equal partnership. Vince does for Dean. Dean does for Vince. At the end, Vince didn't do for Dean, and Dean knew he had all the love, passion, and energy to make himself into what WWE sees in you to an extent somewhere else. Seth Rollins says this, and I quote, I hope that he does well. I've kept enough tabs on him to know that he's doing super well for himself right now, and I'm happy for that. But I just don't think there's any reason to hop on a soapbox and complain after the fact. You need to take the first step, and that's looking in the mirror and asking yourself, did you do every single thing you possibly could to make yourself and your situation what you want it to be? And if the answer is yes, you did, then you can go elsewhere and complain. If that's where he's at mentally, then go right ahead. But if he hasn't done that, if he hasn't looked in the mirror and made that decision, then maybe he should think about that. That goes for any other disgruntled talent, past or present. End quote. This section of the interview really started to get me infuriated. Let me see if my memory serves me correctly here, folks. So Jon Moxley explaining that he tried to sit down with Brock Lesnar before their match at WrestleMania 32, where he basically said that he would let Brock Lesnar fucking kill him out there to make the match memorable, where he said he had all these ideas to make the match stand out on a WrestleMania card that was ravaged with injury, where he said Brock Lesnar turned down every idea that was brought to the table and was told by Brock Lesnar himself, and I quote, we don't need to do all that, only to have a terrible match that has already been forgotten in the vast WWE library. Is that not Jon Moxley making himself and his situation what he wants it to be, Mr. Rollins? Let's see if my memory serves me correctly on this scenario, folks. So Jon Moxley, one night where Roman Reigns announced he was going away to battle leukemia, turns heel on Seth Rollins in what I thought was going to be a stale storyline that was going in the wrong direction anyway, ended up being one of the best surprises and one of the better heel turns in recent memory on Raw, which should have played out in the manner in which you see Jon Moxley's character now, putting that Jon Moxley against you, Seth Rollins, and having him become the biggest heel in the company, only for him to be told by his boss he needs to inject himself with vaccines live on TV because the crowd are toxic and dirty people, and then come out on live TV wearing a mock cosplay of Tom Hardy and The Dark Knight Rises, which was a movie that came out 7 years prior. Who came out wearing all that, including the gas mask with the riot squad behind him? Was that not Jon Moxley? Did he not try, Mr. Rollins? You can only try so hard when you know everything that you are handed is complete bullshit. You can only try so hard, know it's shit, go to your boss, tell him it's shit, only for him to say, but this is so you. This is so you. It's not. No, it's not me. And clearly not the right direction of a major heel turn that should have seen a darker Dean Ambrose, a.k.a. the Jon Moxley that we see now, the Death Rider, Jon Moxley. So I ask again, Seth, did Dean not try? Or are you just too blind to the fact that you are Universal Champion? That you're dating Becky Lynch to see that the writing around you has been, and will continue to be as long as Vince McMahon is completely in charge, terrible. He realized that. How soon until you realized that? You realized it in December at Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, right? Oh, you don't remember Tables, Ladders, and Chairs. Let me refresh your memory, Mr. Rollins. Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins, a feud that was supposed to be about revenge on Dean Ambrose for what he said about Roman Reigns and his battle with leukemia. All this anger towards him for doing what he did on that night, costing you the tag team championships, all the brawls, all the chaos on Raw, all the back and forth. What did you guys do? You had a match, and the very first thing that we see in that match is Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins engage in a fucking headlock. At the end of the night, the crowd shit on a Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose match with the chance of "this is boring." Did you realize it then, Mr. Rollins? Huh? Can you look yourself in the mirror now and see that same Seth Rollins staring back at you? The one who was visibly upset with how things went that night? I don't think so, because you are now the man with the Universal Championship and Becky Lynch. Rollins offered a counterpoint here in this interview and suggested talent step up and make their voices heard, and also to make the most out of things even if they are not completely in agreement. Now, you thought I was angry with the last portion. This is where things really get to a volcanic level. He says, and I quote, "Absolutely, I'm satisfied." Of course you are. You're the Universal Champion with the beautiful woman. Absolutely, I'm satisfied with it because I make a point to be satisfied with it. I make a point to contribute my ideas and my thoughts. And if I feel strongly about something the way it should be, or the way it should be portrayed, then I will make my voice heard. And look, not everybody gets that leeway, and also not everybody should get that leeway. That's not how it works. You have to build equity with your audience, with your boss, with your coworkers. You have to build equity over time, and then you get that leeway to have that kind of say in your story. And if that's your complaint, so be it. Take it up with the boss. Or you can just stand up for yourself and do it instead of going somewhere else and bitching about it. End quote. With reports of a vast majority of the locker room disgruntled with the amount of TV they are getting, or in most cases not getting, with television being dominated by Shane McMahon and 3 months of rematches with little to zero investment from the audience on anything WWE is producing outside of NXT and NXT UK, you want people to step up and make their voices heard. Why? So they get injury time tacked on top of their current contracts? They complain to management that they're not being used, only to be told to be patient 6 months go by and still nothing is being done about it. And then they are still sitting in catering. Look at Sasha Banks. Those women's titles were created for them to put around their waists, Sasha and Bayley, to establish not only the titles, but a division, a competitive division. WWE gave them the titles, and just as quick as they gave Sasha and Bayley those titles were taken off of them, and they were promised something, only for WWE to go in another direction without letting them know, per reports. But it's not right for the team members on your team to complain. It's not right for the active roster to complain when something is wrong, right? Of course they're going to complain. Of course they know it's shit. If you're treated like that, you're going to speak up. Look at Luke Harper. The man was not even drafted to a brand. Not like that makes a fucking difference anyway, because what the fuck is a brand split? And management told him he will not be used after voicing his concern and telling management he is ready to come back, only to be told that they have nothing for him. And Vince doesn't care for Luke Harper because he couldn't do a southern accent correctly. Did Luke Harper not speak up? He certainly did, because there was a reason the man asked for his fucking release on social media. What did it get him? A spot on his couch and time tacked on top of his existing deal as he is watching the wrestling world in the biggest boom since the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars completely pass him by. How about EC3? A man who was brought into NXT. Again, EC3 was brought into NXT. You don't get brought into NXT and then get put in a North American Championship match on night one if Triple H doesn't see some value in you. He was called up to do what exactly? Reprise the role of fucking Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's with the New Day on Raw? Does EC3 think so little of himself to where he is thinking that all he is mock comedy? Is that all he's capable of? Don't you think management has seen his depressing tweets as of late? Is that a man who wants to speak up? If he does, God knows what other embarrassment WWE will have him do on TV. Why was he even brought up in the first place if there was no solid plans in place for him? Better yet, if there was no room for him. Why is he even being punished to begin with? Or what looks to be some sort of never-ending punishment. I have my theories on that, but the neglect on talent like this speaks volumes and puts your words up for massive debate, with a high probability of you, Mr. Rollins, champ, looking like a fucking fool. The Revival! Two guys who a lot of people think may be one of the best tag teams, if not the best tag team on the planet. They complained about being on the main roster for 2 years with absolutely no direction. They asked for their release. WWE clearly didn't grant their release and instead gave them the tag team titles, only to have those titles around the waist of the Revival for them to lose the titles in a match at WrestleMania on the fucking WrestleMania pre-show, which we all know is not actually WrestleMania, to Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins, who he himself didn't win a match for what, 270 consecutive matches? And a match that was put together in 6 days before the actual WrestleMania event. As a way to make an example out of them for not signing new WWE contracts, because if you're not WWE, fuck you. WWE tacked 2 months onto Dash Wilder's WWE contract and made them look like fools on live TV, with Wilder shaving Dawson's back in the shower as the Usos laughed, looking on in some sort of MTV jackass-like bullshit. WWE then gave them the titles back. I asked why. Because they all know the more AEW picks up momentum, and as they inch closer to weekly television, those disgruntled in the locker room, like the Revival, who are going to be looking for a personal revival, are going to see that love and passion for what they do is still out there. It doesn't exist to everyone in WWE, and those who are seeking it will be out the door. You currently sit at the top of the mountain as Universal Champion, Mr. Rollins, in a company right now that has Aleister Black, Andrade Cien Almas, Finn Balor, Buddy Murphy, Mustafa Ali, Cedric Alexander, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Rusev sitting on the sidelines, with some of these guys not being used since April. Buddy Murphy hasn't had a live television match since April when he lost the Cruiserweight title to Tony Nese. Aleister Black hasn't been used since WrestleMania. Andrade is out for legit reasons currently, but a man of that caliber not in the main event is downright criminal. The Intercontinental Championship is off TV as if it means absolutely nothing. Mustafa Ali's momentum, after already suffering a crushing injury before WrestleMania, is going to be triple as hard to get him back on TV and where he should be right now. Cedric Alexander was pulled off 205 Live to chase a fucking title that has just as much value as a piece of popcorn dropped from a $14 bucket of popcorn in that very same arena that you wrestle in. To a point where if he was so happy, right, Cedric Alexander, he wouldn't be on social media asking why things are currently happening with him, and he wouldn't be stating that he misses 205 Live. I quote, Cedric Alexander said exactly that. I'm not sure if the tweet is still up or if he ended up deleting it. I miss 205 Live. You don't say that unless there is a problem. You don't get to Raw and SmackDown and pray to be back on 205 Live if you're Cedric Alexander. All these men I mentioned could be taken away from WWE, and I could legitimately start a brand new promotion, and they would be able to carry an entire weekly show. This is your future wasting away. This is your employer. The man who sent you out there to talk all this bullshit, telling us, the fans, we hate pro wrestling. We're in the pro wrestling business, but we are going to give you what we want, and fuck the fans. You're in their plans, champ. Seth Rollins is in WWE's future plans. It's easy for you to be satisfied with it because you got the title, you got the paychecks, you got the comfort, and you got the girl. These other guys, they have the paychecks, and if you think just being in the WWE for the money is the only thing people want, why the fuck did your best friend Jon Moxley walk out of WWE? Not everyone can have what you have, champ. Some of these guys put in just as much work, if not more, than you have. For you to sit there and basically shit on your teammates disgusts me in this manner. You want to come off all high and mighty like you're defending your team. Meanwhile, in the very same interview, you shit all over your team because you are misinformed. They have no voice. You have a voice where they have no voice. You, champ, are your voice. You are the company's voice. You are your teammates' voice. Roman Reigns, someone like Reigns, is their voice. Randy Orton is their voice. Guys who have been given some sort of power are their voice. You should be the one to step up and speak for everyone that is not able to speak for themselves because of reasons I stated here. Instead, you sit there and you bullshit everyone about how satisfied you are and how it's disrespectful of Moxley to walk out on the company that gave him all of these opportunities for the last 6 years, when you should be the one of the very few who could get in Vince's ear and tell him what exactly is going on with the WWE, and absolutely everything that Jon Moxley said about WWE is true, but you refuse to do that behind closed doors. They gave you the title, you got your girl, and the concerns of the fans and your teammates are of no concern to you whatsoever. Seth Rollins says this: I'm very satisfied with the amount of input I have. Do I do things that I don't always want to do? Yes. But you know what? Sometimes that stuff works because I can't see things perfectly every single time. Yeah, neither does your boss. I don't have the perspective that other people around me have. Vince McMahon has been doing this 20 years longer than I've been alive. So he's got some ideas and knows things that I just don't know that I have to learn. End quote. This is what I find most funny, folks. This is coming from a man who is so-called satisfied with a title reign and his pay-per-view opponent for the last 3 months being Baron Corbin. I'm not sure if you heard that crowd in Tacoma, Washington, champ, but they weren't chanting "burn it down." They weren't chanting for more Seth Rollins. They were chanting for everything but. They were chanting for CM Punk. They were chanting, "This is stupid." They were chanting for that place where your best friend went to go work to find happiness. And they were chanting for that place where you wish you could do what Jon Moxley is doing against the Kenny Omegas of the world, All Elite Wrestling. Are you satisfied with your personal relationship being brought to TV to sell some network subscriptions and generate interest for your piss-poor dying television product? Is that what you call creative writing, champ? Are you really satisfied with your title reign? Are you satisfied with the fact that the Universal Championship has been in some of the worst matches of the year on pay-per-view in the main event? Did you try, Seth? Are you really, really, really trying your hardest? Or is it a case of you being salty with us, the fan base, and you need to take it out on us because you know we are right and it's not something you necessarily agree with? You got shit on, you know it, and it's not because of your in-ring work. You aren't going to throw Baron Corbin under the bus because he is below the level that you are in the ring. Now, Baron Corbin has performed to the best of his ability in the role that he's been given over the last 3 months, but that ability is not one that deserves to be in the main event of a wrestling pay-per-view against someone the likes of Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is someone who you could tell takes great pride in his work. I take great pride in my work. I am a fan of Seth Rollins. I always was a fan of Seth Rollins. But you can tell he is incredibly sensitive to what others say about him. Rightfully so, as we are all human. And no matter what our line of work is, we always give a shit, even though when we say we don't, what others have to say. And for whatever strange reason, Seth Rollins more now this week than ever before has needed validation for himself on everything that he's done. Where he works, what he's done in the ring, and more so than any other time I have ever remembered coming from Seth Rollins. TLC 2018 against Dean Ambrose, you openly admitted it was a night off on Twitter, and you will fix it the next time you have a chance. You took full responsibility for what happened on that night like a man, but instead of lashing out at Vince and telling your boss what needs to be done, you go and do the very thing that everyone in your position, everyone in that company does. You go and shit on the fans via a social media platform like Twitter. Everything outside WWE is popular. Fuck everything else. This is the place to be. Damn it, show me and my company respect. Seth, you and your employer will get my respect when you stop taking us, the fans, for granted. We all know deep down what Jon Moxley is doing, and we all know what he's doing. You want to be doing that same exact thing. You're just too stupid to realize that because the man is tied down with nowhere to go. And I'm not talking about Becky Lynch. So once again, Rollins, I have to say this. Nah, dog, let me dial it up. I've sat back and watched idiots praise WWE with no clue. No clue. I am here every single week to let people know that what you're watching on television is not good television. If you are openly and willingly taking fans' time, money, and investment, and you're producing the shit that you're producing now, you need to be held accountable for every fucking thing that happens. And you're the champ! So with comments like you made this week, man, you're going to be right front and center in front of that firing line. And I hope that you get everything that you deserve, everything that you have coming to you from this interview. Yeah, it's great. You're loyal. You're doing what needs to be done as far as a team leader. That's all great. But I don't think you realize that what you said here, every single thing that you said could be counteracted and fucking attacked in every which way. I clearly showed you exactly that here today on the podcast. Is Seth Rollins loyal? Yes. Is he a sellout? To an extent. I didn't expect any other Seth Rollins than the one that we got here from Sports Illustrated. But man, Seth Rollins disappointed me greatly with the misinformed quotes from this Sports Illustrated tweet. Is WWE in the shithole? Yeah, I don't expect Rollins to say that, but like I mentioned, the most important thing of all this, he is their leader, he is their voice. Use your voice to better the product instead of coming on social media and on Sports Illustrated and shitting on your best friend and the fans, knowing the product is shit. You have the power to get in your boss's ear. Do it. And make us proud. This is Off the Script, episode 280. We got a lot more coming. Thank you so much. Hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed that motherfucker, man. I'll be right back after the intro with much more news right here on Off the Script.
Delete! This is mine.
People still Oh man, the weather is hot, and so is Off the Script. Thank you guys so very much for joining me right here on episode 280. This is part number 1 for your Friday, June 28th, 2019. Fyter Fest is this Saturday. I will be watching, but I will not be doing the review immediately after the show is over. I'm going to save that for Sunday because by the looks of it, I don't have a lot of news this weekend to do a part 3 of Off the Script, which has been a common thing the last couple of weeks. So I'm going to watch Fyter Fest. I'll be tweeting, and I will cover it in a review right here on the podcast. So look forward to that on Sunday. But thank you guys, like I said, for joining me right here on Off the Script. We got a lot to go over. Some of the stories that I have for you today. Baron Corbin apparently is being pushed because of his good looks, folks. Because Vince McMahon thinks the ladies, and I quote, swoon over him. This is legit news. And I'm not surprised by that whatsoever. I got news coming out of the Stomping Grounds pay-per-view, why the steel cage match with Kofi and Dolph Ziggler was boring. Drew McIntyre, well, not boring, it just completely looked that way by the crowd reaction. I thought it was boring, but it came off terrible on TV, and apparently terrible from the crowd's perspective live as well, so we'll go over why that is. Drew McIntyre was supposed to defeat Roman Reigns at Stomping Grounds. You don't say. A right creative decision changed by Vince McMahon last minute? Also, why Vince McMahon doesn't want commercials during Raw anymore and the in-ring action. I don't understand it. WWE now altering their Raw format to fit in Vince McMahon's new edict. I think it's terrible. I think they ran through everything that they could possibly run through already in 2 weeks. Also, how does Becky Lynch feel about Seth Rollins and her relationship being brought to life on WWE television? Tabloid drama. Garbage. TMZ-like fucking trash on WWE storylines, and it's in the main event of the next pay-per-view, man. But Seth Rollins says that he is okay with everything that he's given. I'm satisfied. I'm not. Clearly, many others as well are not satisfied. We're going to go over all that right here on the podcast today. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. By the way, that's Twitter and Instagram, clowns. Hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell for all notifications, and join. Become a member of the YouTube channel. Hit that join button as well. If you guys are not on Patreon and you guys want to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as hit the join button, you guys are going to get Off the Script early access every single week as long as it is available. So make sure you guys go and do that. I would really, really, really appreciate it. If you guys want to sign up for the Patreon account, patreon.com/JD from NY206, you guys over on the Patreon side of things, you don't only get Off the Script early, but you get Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and any extras that I do during the week in all audio formats. That is something that I do not upload to Spotify or iTunes, so you guys are very lucky in getting those in audio form on the Patreon. Patreon.com/JD from NY206. If you guys missed anything that I've uploaded this week, man, including the scathing rant and the news that broke this week, Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff named executive directors of WWE television. Why everybody's getting excited about it, and why I myself am not, yet anyway, excited about it. Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Raw was terrible. SmackDown continues to do nothing right on Tuesday nights. And WWE decided to air Evolve 131, their 10-year anniversary show, the same night as AEW's Fight for the Fallen, which is a charity show, and all proceeds will be going to those families who have been affected by gun violence in the Jacksonville area. We'll talk about that, including the amazing steel cage match between Shayna Baszler and Io Shirai in the main event of NXT television. Go and check all that stuff out. Links will be in the top right corner of the screen. That little eye, drop it down. Everything you need will be right there. Harry's. Got to shout out my fine friends over at Harry's, man. Harrys.com/script. You're going to use our unique link to get yourselves a $13 trial value set. Now, why Harry's? Why does anybody do anything, man? The why is the most important thing in any situation. I love the closeness. I love the smooth glide of the blade. I love the low price. 10 million people have joined Harry's. Did you know that? I am one of 10 million men and women, could be used for the ladies as well, that have tried Harry's. And I want you guys to be a part of the 10 million along with me. I want you guys to join me and the 10 million who have tried Harry's and claim your special offer today by going to harrys.com/script. Remember the why? I'll tell you why. Harry's founders were just two regular guys who were tired of getting ripped off, and they were tired of paying for overpriced gimmicks, vibrating heads, flex balls, handles that look like a prop in a sci-fi movie. These are just some of the tactics that the leading brands in the industry have used to overcharge us for years. Harry's makes quality, durable blades at a fair price. It's only $2 per blade. And to keep prices that low, Harry's cut out the middleman. Harry's bought a world-class blade factory in Germany that's been making quality blades for over 99 years. Now they can provide great quality at factory direct prices. And the best part of it all, folks, it's a 100% quality guarantee. If you don't love your shave, you let them know and they will issue you a full refund. Well, JD, this sounds great. I'm going to get harrys.com/script. I get that, but what am I going to get in the value set? Well, you're going to get a razor handle with an easy grip. Choice of color is yours. The orange, the navy blue, or the evergreen. 5-blade razor with a lubricating strip and a trimmer blade for a close, comfortable shave. Rich lathering shave gel that will leave you smelling great, and believe me, when you put it on your face, it's going to leave a tingling sensation. It feels fantastic, man. And you're going to get a travel blade cover as well to keep your razor dry and easy on the go. If you're a man of business and you need to travel for work, it's perfect for you. Or if you are traveling anywhere, doesn't matter where you're going, it's going to keep your razor dry and easy on the go. Listeners of my show, listeners of Off the Script, can get their trial set today by using our unique link, harrys.com/script. Make sure you guys go to harrys.com/script and redeem your offer today and let them know that I sent you to help support Off the Script. Gonna start off with some Stomping Grounds news, folks, because everybody loved Stomping Grounds. I mean, how could you not? I thought it was a great pay-per-view for the first hour or so. Then after that, like a fucking snowball, avalanching down upon some poor, defenseless fucking town. Complete annihilation. Garbage. That pay-per-view hit rock bottom by the end of the night. I wanted it to be good. And normally these WWE pay-per-views that are in the same vein as Stomping Grounds, they end up being great. When we have no emotional investment, WWE usually pulls out the best in-ring action of the year. Stomping Grounds could have been that. And they were that for the first hour or so. And then after that, like I said, nothing. Kofi Kingston and the WWE Championship. I'm not the only one in the community who feels this way about Kofi, and it's not his fault. It's not his fault. But I'm not the only one who feels that his title reign is kind of nearing the end of days, per se. I think it's fucking boring. It's not his fault, but WWE really hasn't made Kofi Kingston's title reign all that memorable. I mean, look at who they're putting in front of Kofi Kingston as he defends the WWE Championship. It's been a mixture, and I think he beat AJ Styles, didn't he? It was in a triple threat match with Sami Zayn, but I don't even remember because I don't know what the fuck they're doing on television. I don't know who is a part of what brand. Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, two proverbial losers. They have absolutely no momentum and no credibility. Dolph Ziggler, who lost now how many times to Kofi? He had nothing upon coming back to the WWE to begin with. So look at the caliber of athlete. Look at the caliber of superstar that WWE is lining up in front of Kofi Kingston. Are they making Kofi Kingston's title reign credible? Is the caliber of opponent that Kofi is defeating credible to a point where you can say his title reign is great? The answer is no. And that was very clear as day at Stomping Grounds. Stomping Grounds had a few issues, but one of the issues that the fans certainly noticed at home was that the title match between Kofi and Dolph didn't have a crowd reaction whatsoever. The fact is that people couldn't see the match. They couldn't see the match due to the cage blocking their view. And on top of that, they didn't have any big screens showing them any of the in-ring action sitting live in the arena like you would normally see at any regular sporting event. You go to a baseball game, whatever you're seeing there is being filmed for TV, it's on the big screen. If you're in the bleachers, you might not be able to see everything. You look up, it's right there. Simple. Or if you go to any show, any sporting event, whether you're at a comedy show, I remember clear as day, I'm in Madison Square Garden, I went to go see Dane Cook, right? I got nosebleeds. He looked like a fucking ant on stage at Madison Square Garden. Big screens above the arena, showing you exactly what they're filming down below on the big screen, so I could see Dane Cook's movements and mannerisms. Now, whether you find him funny or not, I mean, I don't really give a shit. I enjoyed old Dane Cook, but I'm just trying to make a point. No matter what sporting event you go to, you're going to be able to see whatever you're watching on the big screen if you got shit seats. First of all, if you got shit seats, you shouldn't even be sitting there. You should be at home watching. But Brian Alvarez noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that the screens at the Tacoma Dome were not showing the action in the ring because Kevin Dunn thinks it's distracting. So Kevin Dunn says so. All must be done because Kevin Dunn thinks so. I will not be doing the beaver because it's too fucking hot and I don't have anything written as far as it's distracting. Yeah, I don't have anything. I don't have anything for you guys today. It might be distracting to a certain degree, but the number of fans who actually know what is going on in the ring drastically goes up when the screens are on in the middle of the match. Therefore, a better match is presented on television because they're able to get into it even more by watching what they can't see on the screens. They had enough issues with the crowd not being there for Stomping Grounds, so to add another issue on top of them not knowing what was going on really didn't help both Kofi and Dolph Ziggler's case for what was, I guess, theoretically not a bad match, but it was simply there, as we know why. WWE didn't have any plans for Kofi Kingston and who he should be defending the title against. And all of this was because Dolph came back, he was at Saudi Arabia, they played up the fuck finish, and they had no creativity to come up with anything. And the fact that they had to come up with something in 2 weeks following Super Showdown, they figured, yeah, we're just going to go with the rematch again at the Stomping Grounds pay-per-view. The match was boring. No matter how you looked at it, the match was boring, whether the fans could see it on the screen or not. I don't think if there was a reaction from the Tacoma fans that it would have made all that much of a difference. Steel cage match is a steel cage match. They didn't utilize any of that cage to give me a memorable steel cage match in the way Shayna Baszler and Io Shirai did. I don't understand that. You're in the confines of a steel cage and you gave me a match in which the cage really wasn't even a necessity. Then why the fuck do you have a steel cage match? For the aesthetics? Then everything backfired on the fans because they couldn't see a goddamn fucking thing. The match that they had on SmackDown this past week was better than the pay-per-view match. Go figure. Go figure. 2 out of 3 falls because Vince needs to have no wrestling during the commercial breaks. The match on SmackDown was a lot better. I didn't praise it then because I was so fucking pissed with the overall show. The match itself on SmackDown was a lot better. But who cares? Who cares? And then Dolph wanted to get involved again with the WWE Championship. The guy's a loser! The guy is a loser! You lost at Super Showdown. Fine. Whatever happened then led to the steel cage match. You lost! And then WWE comes out on the following Tuesday and gives Dolph Ziggler another opportunity. For what? What did he do? Did he show Vince McMahon his new comedy skit 6 weeks early? I don't understand. So we got that on a SmackDown show that offered nothing of importance. And then Samoa Joe, of all fucking people, didn't even show up to give us a reason as to why he attacked Kofi Kingston. But Dolph Ziggler was there getting another shot at the WWE title for no reason whatsoever. Thank God WWE is in the motions of changing things. We'll see with Bischoff and Paul Heyman. Hopefully with them in charge, shit like this would not happen. The match was boring. No matter if it fell flat or not live, the match was boring. Nobody gave a shit about it to begin with. Nobody gave a shit about it when it was over. Nobody gave a shit about it on Tuesday. Dolph Ziggler is not a believable candidate to be fighting for the WWE title. You don't go away for 6 months and then come back and be like, hey, WWE title. You're insulting your audience and everything that they know about pro wrestling. I want people on my TV that have fucking wins. Dolph Ziggler, and no matter how much I love Samoa Joe, I love Joe to death. I think he's fucking great. The guy's a loser. He's presented as a loser. Wins matter. Wins matter. I don't give a fuck who you are. I don't give a shit what line of work you're in. You're a competitor. Wins matter. If the Braves continue to lose, they will not be granted a spot in the playoffs. They will not have a shot to fight and battle for the World Series. Same thing goes for fucking pro wrestler. You're not going to lose and then get a championship match. Doesn't happen that way in the UFC. You develop a win streak. You develop W's. You got to have some big numbers in that W column. More so than the L's. You're not going to give the guy with losses a championship match. So why does it happen in pro wrestling? I don't get it. WWE needs to fix that aspect of television ASAP. Extreme Rules, 2 weeks. Samoa Joe getting a title shot doesn't make any sense. He's not going to win anyway. Hopefully with the inclusion of now Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff on WWE television, shit like this, I hope, everything that I'm complaining about takes precedent going on into WWE's future. That's all I want. I want to be invested in what these characters are doing. I want to see them win. I want to see winners fight winners. I don't want to see losers become losers only to stay losers and then get championship matches. Come on. I know I am not alone in this feeling. Speaking of losers, Drew McIntyre. He was supposed to defeat Roman Reigns at Stomping Grounds. You don't say. A creative decision that should have been simple as one of Titus's pies. Didn't happen. Brad Shepard reports that Drew McIntyre was actually supposed to defeat Roman Reigns at Stomping Grounds. This would have happened after Shane McMahon's distraction was successful. Of course, Shane was not successful in distracting Roman Reigns, and he was sent over the top rope instead. Claymore kick missed, and then Roman Reigns hit his spear. However, it was reportedly not supposed to be that way. Brad Shepard says this, and I quote, "I was told that the outcome of Drew McIntyre versus Roman Reigns was changed on the morning of Stomping Grounds. Drew was apparently going to pin Roman after a distraction from Shane and a Claymore kick, but Vince changed it to Roman going over. It's actually a good thing that Roman Reigns ended up winning the match because some people said he needed it. Roman Reigns needed a win. Why? Why did Roman Reigns need a win if this bullshit storyline that nobody gives a shit about continued on and will continue on going into Extreme Rules? Why did Roman need a win if the news that's coming out of Extreme Rules is that the reason The Undertaker is back for very obvious reasons, which we'll talk about tomorrow, but the news that's coming out of his appearance on Monday night and heading into Extreme Rules and then obviously coming out of Extreme Rules, the reason why The Undertaker is back is because he is going to be involved in a program with Drew McIntyre. And apparently, The Undertaker's hand-picked opponent for WrestleMania 36. Yes, I know, The Undertaker's already throwing his name into the casket for WrestleMania. He wants Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. Handpicked by the dead man himself. This is why we're seeing Drew McIntyre and The Undertaker on television in the coming months. So if that's the case, why didn't Drew McIntyre beat Roman Reigns? You're going to have Drew McIntyre losing, going on into a match with The Undertaker? Match with The Undertaker really doesn't mean much of anything anymore as far as getting a win over The Undertaker, but it's a win over a Hall of Famer, and The Undertaker is one of those guys that is looked at as a legend, right? Still got that mystique about him. So if McIntyre was supposed to beat Roman, why didn't they actually go with that if the plan all along was for Drew McIntyre and The Undertaker at WrestleMania? Who gives a shit if Roman loses? Roman could take a loss. Nobody gives a fuck. I don't understand their logic. So, that's that. And I could even go back to this year's WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre lost in 6 minutes. You couldn't give him a win over Roman to come back from that match at WrestleMania? WWE is mental. It might not be in the grand scheme of the Roman agenda, but the Roman agenda rears its ugly head once again. Didn't need a victory over Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre has been a proverbial loser. The guy is a loser. You've placed him with losers. He comes off like a loser. He is a loser. And I hate saying that. Everybody that you have, all of your heels, are losers. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, Samoa Joe, Drew McIntyre. You pair this guy with fucking Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin for months on end, you sealed his fate immediately. Nobody's gonna give a fuck about him. They're gonna look at him like some big fucking deal when the guys that you place him with are just as big a losers as he is. WWE is fucking mental. Drew McIntyre had all this momentum. Coming up from NXT, he was the NXT champion, he got hurt, right? Then he made his debut on the main roster again with Dolph Ziggler. Everything that Drew McIntyre has done, he's been paired with somebody. I mentioned this on Tuesday. Or Monday. Whichever one, I don't even know. They're all the same fucking show now anyway. I mentioned this week on either Raw or SmackDown. Every situation you found Drew McIntyre in, he's paired with a fucking loser. What is it going to take for people to believe in Drew McIntyre? If you look at Drew McIntyre, you know, people say this about Randy Orton. Drew McIntyre looks like the perfect pro wrestler. He's got the height, he's got the look, he's got the body, great in-ring work. What is it going to take for this guy to break out and finally be someone that we know he could be? Clearly his heel run is not working. Maybe he needs to go babyface. I don't know. Something needs to be done because clearly whatever WWE has done with him over the past year plus has not worked out. And it's actually worse off in the end for Drew McIntyre. And if he thinks he looks good by being paired with Shane McMahon, people, has channel-changing go-away heat. It's there. It exists. Open your fucking ears and listen. What I want to go away is the WWE having no commercials in the middle of their wrestling matches on Monday night. Now, I don't know how they used to do things back in the day, but I don't want to see commercials during wrestling matches ever. Especially if it's a main event match and it's something of importance, title on the line, stipulation to continue a feud, to move on to the pay-per-view, whatever. It needs to be a situation where there's no commercials during the biggest moments of the night. Because it only takes away from the momentum of what you're trying to tell on TV. And people are apt to change the channel and then not come back and watch something that they were kind of invested in. And then you went to commercial break for 5 minutes, and here we are with 3 minutes of wrestling action. How the fuck can you get anybody invested in the story that you're trying to tell if you're going to 5 minutes of commercial and then you come back and the match is over? I don't like that. You're catering to the people in the audience, but you're not giving a shit about the people watching at home. I don't know how WWE did things back in the day, but I, instead of putting on 24/7 garbage, Shane McMahon, Elias, The Miz, and all this other fucking useless garbage, I would much rather see longer commercial breaks, and I would rather you not take commercial breaks during the shit that I actually want to see on Monday and Tuesday night. I am okay with having longer commercial breaks if you spare me the shit that I don't want to see. Never take away from the in-ring action. WWE has ran through all their cards already. 2 out of 3 falls matches. How long do you think that is going to last? I don't want to see another 2 out of 3 falls match for the rest of the fucking year. A stipulation that, realistically, if you're not going to put someone in a ladder match or a steel cage match, 2 out of 3 falls is a stipulation that 2 guys are going to battle in to see who is the very best. It's a stipulation that kind of can end a feud. Seriously. So you're just willingly using it on television so that you don't go and have your wrestling happen during the commercial breaks. 2 out of 3 falls matches. We've seen 3 2 out of 3 falls matches this week alone. 1 on Raw, and then 2 on SmackDown. 2 on SmackDown. Elias and The Miz were fighting in a 2 out of 3 falls match. For what? For what? What was on the line? A raise at fucking Guitar Center in your part-time job? A new set of guitar picks? What's on the line? There's no title on the line. Elias and The Miz in a 2 out of 3 falls match. Just because they don't want to have wrestling happen during the commercials. And then WWE goes about it. Oh, we'll do 2 out of 3 falls, and the first fall happens in 1 minute. 1 minute. Then they go to commercial. The action stops. The people live are wondering what's going on. We got 6 minutes of commercials. We come back. The second fall and the third fall happens in 2 and 4 minutes, respectively, and they try to jam everything in 6 minutes with a 2 out of 3 falls match. How fucking pathetic is that? And then you do it with Kofi and Dolph Ziggler in the main events. Kofi Kingston's your WWE champion. How many times in this week alone have I stated champions should not be losing? Dolph Ziggler lost clean at the pay-per-view. Yet you have him trot out there on SmackDown Live. You book a 2 out of 3 falls match because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And an opportunity for him to beat Kofi and be put in the Extreme Rules main event with Samoa Joe against Kofi Kingston. Why? So what you did is, A, you put Dolph Ziggler in a position in which he should never have even been in because he lost on Sunday. And then B, you put him in a position to pin Kofi because you wanted to get the commercial in and not have wrestling happen during the commercial. So at that point, you have Dolph pin Kofi to win the second fall. And it goes right back to what I stated before. Your champion got pinned on television. When your champion is on a string of wins, no matter how important or little of importance they are, he's been getting a string of victories, a string of W's. And here in this meaningless 2 out of 3 falls match that should have never even been a fucking thing because of Ziggler's loss on Sunday, you have your WWE champion taking a pinfall for absolutely no reason against someone who is a loser. And nobody finds an issue with this. Everybody wants to say JD is complaining. Apparently my complaints are clearly being heard. Fox knows the WWE product is garbage. There's a reason why they wanted Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff to run both of their fucking shows. WWE knew that they needed to change before they met with Fox, and here we are. They're meeting with Fox next week, and now they have their new plan of attack in Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman. 2 respectable names in the business who I don't think Fox is going to really turn around and say, nah, we don't want them. This shit does not need to be on television. 2 out of 3 falls matches, elimination matches. Look at what they did on, what was it, Monday Night Raw? Look at what they did on not even Monday Night Raw, on SmackDown Live. Look at what they did on both. You had Naomi versus who? Alexa Bliss? And then it gets changed into a tag team match. Why? It gets changed into a tag team match because you didn't want to go to commercial. Same thing happened with the tag team match on SmackDown Live. It got changed into an 8-man tag. I don't understand the logic of it's like they don't even fucking care. It's like they're booking this show on drugs. How does anyone look at this and deem this to be right? I don't get it. Things need to change. Things need to change. They ran through all their cards already with the 2 out of 3 falls, the elimination matches, turning a tag team match that is unimportant to begin with into an 8-man fucking tag. I think the one creative thing that they did was during the Ricochet and AJ Styles match, that even that shouldn't have happened on Monday Night Raw, and Ricochet should have not lost. The one thing that they did creatively was they got this thing going on between the club and AJ Styles. AJ came out alone against Ricochet in a non-title match. The club came out there during the match, and they wanted to stand in AJ's corner. So AJ took the microphone and said, I'm not continuing this match with you guys out here. I don't need you. And I will wait here all night until you go to the back. And they went to commercial. And by the time they came back from commercial, they were gone. The match resumed. That is a creative way. How many times could you do that? How many people with your roster could you do that with? Not many. So WWE has run through all of their fucking bag of tricks already. Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that the company is going to arrange more 2 out of 3 falls matches or just book them to be shorter. This is not going to make a lot of people happy to get shorter matches because it limits the story that they can tell. Yeah, so we're going to go back to fucking Diva matches where the match lasts 2-3 minutes max. That's why you've seen Ember Moon and Sonya Deville on SmackDown Live in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Raw is in shambles. SmackDown is in shambles. It's going to limit the story that the wrestlers are going to be able to tell in the ring. Also, booking so many 2 out of 3 falls matches will eventually get old. It's already old. This is said that Fox wants real sports. So WWE is going in that direction and taking this approach. You're going about it all wrong. Take longer commercials and give me a match that does not have commercials, while you limit the garbage that you should be not thinking about even putting on TV. Post Wrestling confirmed that this story and its context is true, and elaborated on McMahon's reason for making this decision. It is said that legitimate sports don't play during the break, so they are adjusting their match presentation. This was Vince's idea. WWE has a few options about what they could do, and some of them might seem a bit out of the ordinary for pro wrestling. In fact, PW Insider reports that one source has floated the idea to them that WWE might try to do rounds like UFC. What a fucking idiot. Rollins says he's satisfied with whatever Vince McMahon is doing, right? Vince McMahon is 20 years longer than he's been alive. Clearly, the man is outdated and don't know what the fuck he's doing. PW Insider says that this idea of trying matches with multiple rounds has also been pitched at some point in the past few weeks, similar to the old European rounds system, but there's no word yet that the idea will be executed. WWE is trying, apparently, to go for a real sports feel, and the idea is out there that Vince McMahon saw some real sports outside of WWE and realized that games don't usually keep going through the commercial break. Perhaps this is something he figured out while studying up on football, making sure the XFL is right for when they launch in 2020. Vince McMahon is a fucking idiot. That's all this proves. And everything that I mentioned before this report is 100% fact. This is ridiculous. How many times are they going to do something and have it be a failure? Just like the third hour of Raw. They were going to get raw. They were going to get a little edgy, right? How long did that last? 2 weeks. They got rid of that just as quick as it became a thing. This is going to be gone, hopefully, with the wild card rule gone eventually from television. This is not how you go about it. I'm sure Paul Heyman has a much better idea of what to do if you don't want commercial breaks during the fucking show. Place your commercial breaks on things that we don't need to see, period, on your television. I'd much rather see commercials than fucking R-Truth being chased around by fucking Eric Young with the 24/7 title. Bullshit. WWE is altering their booking with Vince McMahon's new ruling. PW Insider noted that there at least will be one of these special stipulation matches on the show every single week. Falls in line with McMahon's new edict, but you have to wonder how long this will be able to be a thing on WWE television. There will at least be one best of 3 falls match on Raw and SmackDown as part of Vince McMahon's new ruling. There you go. Awful, folks. Get ready. It is awful. What is awful? It's Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin is a solid mid-level, mid-card, middle-of-the-road, average heel. He does not belong in the main event with the skills that he currently possesses. He's not a WWE champion. He's not a Universal champion. He doesn't have the wrestling ability to be in the main event. I am of the old school. The main event is reserved for the best that you have on the roster. Baron Corbin is not it. People have been wondering why Baron Corbin is constantly being pushed, especially more so after he beat Kurt Angle at WrestleMania. Baron Corbin is getting his big push on WWE television, and that hasn't stopped since WrestleMania. Seems as if Corbin has been getting a very good shake on the main roster ever since his defeat of Kurt Angle. Now, the former, as if this has anything to do with this fucking push, the cretins out there will be like, oh, it's important, look at Baron Corbin. The Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal winner and the former Raw general manager is in a top feud with Seth Rollins. He will get another opportunity to capture the Universal title at Extreme Rules. He failed to do so when he was Mr. Money in the Bank and got rolled up by Jinder Mahal. Remember that? I do. But perhaps the interesting winner-takes-all stipulation at the Extreme Rules pay-per-view will be his lucky thing. The luck that he needs to make his dreams come true of becoming the Universal Champion. Dave Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Live that Vince McMahon continues to push Baron Corbin because of his looks. It was said that Baron Corbin is the type of guy who Vince sees women swooning over. Therefore, he continues to get pushed in a spotlighted role. Now, I'm not surprised by this whatsoever, and if this is Vince McMahon's idea, and if this is Vince McMahon doing what he thinks is best for Monday Night Raw, Vince needs to be removed. I say this all the time as if someone's going to fucking hear me and God is going to grant my wish. If this is the case, Vince McMahon you say out of touch. Out of touch. He's out of touch not only with the fucking product, but he's out of touch with life. How many people, my female listeners, if there are any out there, do you think is Baron Corbin, or do you think Baron Corbin has good looks? Do you think Baron Corbin's a good-looking guy? Do you want to see Baron Corbin because he's a good-looking dude? This is why we're pushing people on television. Fuck wrestling skill. Fuck the fact that they got limited in-ring ability. Then we're going to push him because he's got good looks. I don't get it. I'm not flabbergasted, but at the same time I am. I don't understand it. You got guys like Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black, Andrade Cien Almas, Mustafa Ali, Shinsuke Nakamura, Cedric Alexander, Cesaro, not being pushed. Rusev, not being pushed on TV. Most of those guys have been off TV since WrestleMania. And they haven't been in any major programs because Baron Corbin is getting the push because he's good looking. If I read that and I found that to be true, and that is a true thing that's happening right now in WWE, I got one foot out the door. That is awful. That is fucking downright embarrassing. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this report. Imagine. Baron Corbin is the Universal Champion of Monday Night Raw because not of his in-ring ability, but because he's a good-looking dude. And this mixed tag team match with Lacey Evans, man, Seth Rollins says he's satisfied with it. How it devalues the fucking title that is around both him and his girlfriend's waist. So you mean to tell me, and I mentioned this on Monday, nobody seems to bring this point to discussion. If Lacey Evans beats Becky Lynch and pins Becky Lynch at Extreme Rules, that means Lacey Evans is not only the Raw Women's Champion, but Baron Corbin is by default the Universal Champion for doing absolutely nothing, which will lend itself to everybody being a loser in WWE and being treated better than the winners. So for basically doing nothing, and undeservedly so, because my tag team partner pinned the Women's Champion, I am now Universal Champion. Because all titles are on the line. Winner take all. How would that look if Baron Corbin pins Seth Rollins to become the Universal Champion? And in the same vein, Becky Lynch loses the title to Lacey Evans. Lacey Evans hasn't won a fucking match one-on-one since Money in the Bank. Do you see where I'm going with this, folks? Do you understand why me would be frustrated? I don't understand the logic, and nobody complains about this. It devalues the titles. It's something that nobody wants to see. Two characters that are on TV that are being forced upon us when nobody wants to see them, in Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans. Yet WWE thinks that they're putting on good shit. This is fucking mindless fucking television. Garbage. I have never been more embarrassed to be a pro wrestling fan than I am in 2019 with Vince McMahon and his 74-year-old demented fucking mind. Awful. What is not awful is the partnership that I have with Audible. audibletrial.com/off the script. There's nothing awful about Audible, folks. Because what Audible's going to do for you is they're going to give you 30 days free of their service, including one free audiobook of your choice. JD, I love getting shit for free. What do I have to do? Well, goon, this is what you're going to do. You're going to use our unique link, audibletrial.com/off the script. You're going to pick up your mobile device, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, and you're going to download the Audible app for free. You're going to go through the sign-up process. You will not be billed at all. You will not be billed whatsoever. And then you got 30 days free of Audible service. And as a thank you for signing up, they're going to give you one free audiobook of your choice, a lot of which are wrestling related. You have over 200,000 choices to choose from. Politics, romance, sci-fi, fantasy, cooking, sports, you name it. It is there. audibletrial.com/off the script. Go and get yourself The Death of WCW. Go and get your Diamond Dallas Page or Justin Roberts or Stone Cold's books. Go and get yourself The Hardcore Truth by Bob Holly, Jericho, Jim Ross, Shawn Michaels, Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, so on and so forth. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Let them know that JD and Off the Script sent you to help support Audible. Finishing up here, man, with the podcast for episode 280, part number 1. Gonna talk about my buddy Seth Rollins and his girlfriend, Becky Lynch. You know, it's funny. It really is funny that Seth Rollins claims to be the greatest wrestler on the planet and that nobody can compete with Rollins at the level he does it every single night because he works for the WWE. Meanwhile, we all know deep down in his inner core, Rollins would love to be in the G1, or he'd love to be in the ring with the Kenny Omegas and the Will Ospreys and the Kazuchika Okadas of the world. And here he is at Extreme Rules. Mind you, he is the top talent in the world, the best wrestler ever. Nobody can compete with Seth Rollins at the level he does it. And he's at Extreme Rules in a mixed tag team match with his girlfriend, his little girlfriend. They're playing house. Becky Lynch. This fucking power couple bullshit is complete cringe, folks. How do you think Seth Rollins feels? Of course he's going to go out on Sports Illustrated and say, yeah, I'm satisfied with whatever we got going on. Sure you are. Sure you are. Meanwhile, everybody else is burning the pro wrestling world down. Legitimately, you're serving tea and you got an apron in the kitchen because you aren't the man in this relationship. Not when your girlfriend Becky Lynch is the man. But she got a fucking t-shirt to prove that she is. I don't like it, folks. I don't like it. But the mixed tag team match is a thing. It's happening at Extreme Rules. We knew it was going to be a thing coming out of the Stomping Grounds pay-per-view. We called it on the podcast. But everybody needs to get used to seeing Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch together on TV. Now, PW Insider's reporting that WWE has no plans at all in slowing down their focus on Rollins and Lynch's relationship either. You can expect a big push for Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch and the power couple that is on WWE television moving forward. Now, we all know that the fucking cretins on social media are more interested in the personal lives of the superstars than the action themselves. I mean, for fuck's sake, I think people actually know every single time Alexa Bliss's pig goes to the bathroom. They probably know the fucking pig's diet. I mean, for Christ's sake, Sasha Banks got a beautiful new puppy. And I guarantee you, super fans are already knowing the diet and the fucking exact time in which Sasha takes this beautiful fucking thing out for a walk. That's how much fans give a shit more about the actual performers' personal lives than what they do in the ring. People legitimately care more about the fact that Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are an item than they do anything else. Now, this is not the first time we've seen them together. They've been kind of teasing it. They sat next to each other at the Hall of Fame. They showed up at the MTV Movie Awards as a couple. Becky Lynch, like a fool, showed up with her Raw Women's Championship, while Seth, I guess he didn't really give a shit about the Universal title because he didn't take it with him. Now, we all know that they've been dating. They've dropped hints. They've seen, we've seen pictures of them together. They showed up at concerts together. Really, nobody kind of pieced it together until they actually made it official. And Becky Lynch is actually tired of her relationship with Rollins getting such a spotlight on TV. I don't think she is with it all the way. And you can kind of tell by the way that they were together on TV. It looked like they were best friends instead of boyfriend and girlfriend. Becky Lynch kind of seems tired and over it already that the relationship is getting more spotlight than what they're doing in the ring. And she actually said this on Twitter, because WWE's Twitter account actually posted a picture of Rollins looking at Lynch with some lyrics from Can you feel the love tonight? From Lion King. She might have had enough of it after this tweet was sent out. She said simply, "Please stop, lads." End quote. So that's a very interesting response and could really mean more than it does. Maybe Becky Lynch is tired of the fucking shit that's going on with Seth Rollins and her relationship live on TV. I would pay good money to not hear, "Oh, and here's Seth Rollins' girlfriend." Give me a break. It is awful television, folks. Shit like that needs to stay away because you're actually taking a spotlight off of what should be important for a fucking pro wrestling program, and that is the championship. You've made this relationship more important than the fucking titles that are around both Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch waist. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Do you see Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae's relationship being more important than his love for the NXT title? Or her quest for the NXT women's title? I don't understand it. Bianca Belair and Montez Ford, did you ever see their relationship take front and center? Yeah, it was hinted at and showcased on social media, where it should be. It never once made it to live television. Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins won the NXT Tag Team titles. Never once was their relationship brought to TV because they're a fucking item and they're married in real life. They never made their marriage a thing on television. You've seen Bianca post about it on Instagram on her honeymoon. You know, people knew. And you've seen pictures of Bianca with Montez after TakeOver 25 when the Street Profits won the NXT Tag Team titles. That is fine. Don't bring it to television expecting me to fucking care. When I watch the television program, I want to care about the performers in the ring. I want to care about the story that you're trying to tell, the struggle between good and evil, the fucking value of the championships, which is zero right now. What you're presenting on television is, in your eyes, more important than what you think of the championships. And I'm not with that at all. I'm not on board with that. Oh, but JD, there's a winner-take-all tag team match. Who gives a shit? Before the titles are even mentioned, the mention of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch and the fact that they're boyfriend and girlfriend will be mentioned first before the winner-take-all stipulation and the fact that the championships are on the line. I'm not on board with that. And everybody's like, "Oh, I don't mind it. I don't mind it." It's uncomfortable for me because it makes me fucking bleed from the ears when I gotta hear Michael Cole say boyfriend, girlfriend. Are we watching fucking Phil Donahue? Are we watching Jerry Springer? What are we watching? Are we watching tabloid garbage unfold? Or are we watching a pro wrestling program? I don't understand it. Come on. Got to do better than that. And for the simpletons who find interest in this, it says a lot about your fucking brain and what you got working up here. You're an idiot. Finally. Let's get the hell out of here because I'm fucking sweating bullets. I feel sweat seeping through my fucking Eddie Guerrero shirt. By the way, did you guys see Garza Jr., Angel Garza, on NXT TV? Talked about him in the review. He looked so much like Eddie Guerrero coming out during the NXT Breakout Tournament. I loved it. I thought he was great. I got a little Eddie Guerrero, Andrade Cien Almas vibe from Angel Garza. Can't wait to see what he does. Anyway. The WWE Women's Tag Team Championships are a fucking disaster. They're around the waists of a disaster team. Little to no skill whatsoever. If you paid me all the money in the world, I would not even attempt to do the iconic pose because it's fucking garbage. The Women's Tag Team titles are not even being mentioned in backstage creative meetings. Morale isn't the best right now in WWE, clearly. And it's been reported that a number of superstars have already reached out to AEW. This might be damaging a lot of people's mindsets down the card. And Brad Shepard reports that the women's tag team titles aren't even being mentioned in creative meetings. This has brought on some to suggest that they might as well be defunct. Why the fuck did you even create them? And then you want to know why Sasha Banks sits at home, rather playing with her dog, She'd rather play with her dog, her new puppy, than show up on TV and wrestle. On top of that, Daniel Bryan and Rowan are reportedly pissed because their momentum has pretty much been halted as well as tag team champions. That's not hard to figure out. Let's just see how Bryan and Rowan continue on as their run with tag team or with the tag team championships, being that they beat Heavy Machinery and then they come back on Tuesday night to fucking lose. To lose. Not once, but twice. The source continued to Brad Shepard, calling everything a mess in WWE at the moment. They said that the women's tag team titles might as well be defunct because they're hardly ever brought up in the meetings. Daniel Bryan and Rowan are pissed because they have been at a standstill as well. This is a bit of a troubling time in WWE, especially considering the fact that WWE reportedly wanted to put more focus on tag team wrestling. Even after introducing the women's tag team titles, it seems like it hasn't helped that much. I don't know. Why is there no focus on the tag team division? Because maybe you created titles in a time when you didn't have any tag teams to begin with? Maybe you created titles that didn't need to be created because you couldn't get your women's division right and some fucking bizarre notion came to you guys. Well, maybe we could do right with a tag team division. Where? The tag team titles have been a fucking joke. The tag team titles are supposed to be created to span all three shows. Raw, SmackDown, pay-per-view, NXT TakeOver. So you put them around the waists of two women who that, if you put on TakeOver, would be embarrassed out of the fucking building. Just by that mentality alone, you know you put the titles on the wrong two people. It wasn't needed. You have no women's division at all to begin with. The women that you use are used out of mere favoritism. The women that you're not using are sitting in the back collecting dust on Vince McMahon's toy shelf. You have no tag teams to begin with. For the simple fact that you paired Kairi Sane and Asuka as a tag team says a lot. It says a lot about Vince McMahon and what he thinks of Japanese women. And it says a lot about how WWE doesn't have a fucking clue as to what to do. I mean, they broke up the Riot Squad. A women's stable. A stable of 3 women that could be looked at as a legit tag team. You broke them up. Why? Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville, when was the last time they vied for the tag team titles? Completely gone. Naomi and Carmella, why? I don't understand it. Now, I see Natalya and Naomi. Heart and soul. Are you fucking kidding me? Everything WWE does, they do it, and then they have absolutely no plan or direction for it. Peyton Royce and Billie Kay are absolutely iconic garbage. Iconic garbage. I don't even know what else to say. Really. The tag team titles were not needed, and if they were around the waist of Sasha and Bayley, at least the titles would look the part. Now they don't look the part. And Peyton Royce and Billie Kay, you think a title or a title reign would make them look a little better than they have been portrayed. Clearly, they're not doing anything for the titles, and the titles were dead to begin with, that the titles are in no position to make anybody look good whatsoever. Awful. Might as well just get rid of them, delete them, vanish them, fucking make them disappear, whatever. Get rid of them. They're not needed. They were never needed. They will never be needed. Maybe with Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff in charge, maybe they'll resurrect the women's tag team division. Who knows? I'm getting out of here, guys. Thank you so very much. This is Off the Script Part 1, Episode 280. I got a lot more coming tomorrow. If you guys want a glimpse of what is to come, WWE reportedly considering a call-up of Matt Riddle for SmackDown Live as they move to Fox. And Vince McMahon could reportedly take the title off of Kofi Kingston for one big, glaring reason. We'll talk about that tomorrow right here on the podcast. Make sure you guys follow me on social media. JD from NY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys want to join the channel, become a member of the channel, please do so. Nice little perks there as you join the channel and support. Make sure you guys check out all the other videos that you might have missed, including my scathing off the script extra in regards to Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff now being executive directors of Raw and SmackDown. Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, and NXT reviews, all respectively in the links that you see in the annotation right in that top right corner. Drop it down. Everything you need will be right there. audibletrial.com/offthescript and harrys.com/script for your trial sets and free audio books, man. Thank you guys so very much for all of your support. I'm getting out of here. Thank you so much. I'm going to sit in a fucking air conditioner and cool off. It's fucking hot. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Hit that thumbs up, and I will see you right back here on part 2 of the podcast for Saturday. Until then, take care, guys. Stay cool, and I'll see you guys right back here for Saturday afternoon.